Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me today on a wonderful concept that has taken the world by storm called ChatGPT. Hope you're having a wonderful May, and here's to wishing you a great and productive summer to come. Let's go ahead and jump into this topic today, OpenAI and ChatGPT. A little bit about me before we go into the actual subject matter of today's discussion. I have spent about 20 years in the financial services industry. I'm culturally conscious because I worked across many continents. And in those 20 years, and I serve as a cross-cultural, uh, cross-functional communication consultant for different banks and fintechs. I work mostly in the digital space, also have worked with the treasury initiatives and different lines of areas of business, whether it's capital markets, wealth, retail banking, what have you. I do have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from India and a communications master's from Purdue University, Indiana, in the USA. So I am kind of uniquely positioned to help bridge the communication gap between the technology community and the business community. In my spare time, also do sell handmade goods on Etsy, and I run a fun personal branding community called Rise Group Coaching. I live in the Bay Area with my banker husband and my two lovely daughters and two adorable rescue beagles. There you have puppy. All right, let's go ahead and get started on today's discussion subject, which is OpenAI and ChatGPT. Now, we are hitting sort of a tipping point, when it comes to AI right now. I mean, AI is not something that's, an unfamiliar term, an esoteric term anymore, right? We've heard of AI already in different walks of life. Um, there are things like pattern recognition happens, or augmented reality, or machine learning. All these terms keep getting thrown around, right? And up until now, it sort of has felt like, oh, some people, some brainiacs somewhere are doing some cutting edge stuff with artificial intelligence. It almost takes you back to like Terminator days, right? Skynet. Well, with ChatGPT, AI no longer remains, a plaything of the intellectual few. AI has now become mainstream, and that's what I mean by tipping point. We really are hitting a tipping point with artificial intelligence with ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is now able to communicate in plain English. It can write and revise text that you and I would be writing in English. It can also write code, and that actually is very important for the tech community, which I do work with very closely. I do serve it. Um, Writing code has always been something that belonged to the tech bastion, the technologists, the coders, developers, all these guys would work on it. Now, if ChatGPT is able to write the code, it suddenly becomes a useful tool to a much broader population, right? So, if you're a techie, and if you're thinking, maybe I need to kind of get plugged in as to what's going on with ChatGPT, you are absolutely correct. Now, the term chat GPT means it's essentially a chat bot, right? And you could be asking, like, why the heck do I need to learn about a chat bot? Don't I come across chat bots when I go to a website? And then this pop up on the bottom right corner turns up, hey, how may I help you? I'm blah blah bot. I can help you with any queries, and they'll have some canned responses. Well, it's called ChatGPT because it's interactive, it's generative, it provides you responses as you provided prompts, almost like a conversation. But the reason it's important right now, and it's not to be taken lightly, is because it's become much more acceptable. What I mean by that is, up until the time when AI was being used for things like driverless cars, right? We've all heard the negative press about driverless cars. It's because those projects, those undertakings came with a very hefty price if there was a failure, right? You could be talking about forklifts getting um, uh, worked on, getting run by an AI. Now it's automated, or the driverless car is automated, right? And if it goes and hits a person and there is a mortal danger, right, involved in its failure, then that failure is very, very expensive. However, when it's a chat and you're just having discussions, um, failure here is not going to be as catastrophic as talking about lives being lost. It's just not giving me the right answer. You know, no one's dying as a result. So it can actually be used for, harmless projects. And that's how it has become so popular in recent times. Let's look at what it exactly is. It is a chatbot that was launched by this company called OpenAI not so long ago, just about 6 months ago in November 2022. And it's built on OpenAI's GPT-4 family of large language models. LLMs are a subject on their own, a discipline on their own that needs far more in-depth discussion than just through the scope of this presentation. ChatGPT is fine-tuned and with supervised and reinforced learning techniques. So you teach it something, it's almost like machine learning. You teach it something again, and it starts to refine its understanding, its grasp, its responses better and better. Um, in the research phase, ChatGPT was free. I'm not really sure if it still is or not. I did grab a user account. So usage is limited, but I still can use it for just academic purposes. Now, I mentioned the term OpenAI, right? What is OpenAI? Well, it is a research laboratory, and as the name suggests, open, like open source. OpenAI is made up of a for-profit corporation called OpenAI LP, and its non-profit parent, OpenAI Inc. The company does conduct research in the field of AI with the stated goal of promoting and developing friendly AI in a way that profits humanity as a whole. The company was founded in San Francisco in late 2015 by Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and others who collectively pledged $1 billion. Now, because of the rapid development of AI in Tesla, Musk figured that there's going to be conflict of interest, so he took an exit in 2018. But he remains a donor. Then, once Musk's exit took place in 2019, OpenAI received $1 billion investment from Microsoft and Matthew Brown Company. Let's look at some of OpenAI's projects. ChatGPT is not the only thing it works on. There's a bunch of other things it's working on. So one of the very popular and interesting things that it works on is called DALL-E 2. It's a new AI system that can create realistic images and art from a description in a natural language. And you can create bizarre pictures depending on how bizarre your description, your situation that you're trying to depict becomes. There really are no limits. January 2021 is when the predecessor, DALL-E, was introduced by OpenAI. And about a year later, DALL-E 2 came into existence. And it actually creates far more accurate and realistic images. There's also something called CLIP, connecting texts and images. And this is a neural network. It efficiently learns visual concepts from natural language supervision. CLIP can be applied to any visual classification by simply providing names of the visual categories, right? If you try to, for example, train an augmented reality engine, right, with certain visual images to enrich its database so that it can understand and form the pattern. It takes a lot more labor. You have to actually feed it hundreds, thousands of images, let's say of Kim Kardashian, right? It's you just keep feeding it different media images of the celebrity, and then maybe at the 2000 or the 3000th time, it'll actually be able to recognize that same celebrity on the basis of what it has been fed so far. Well, um, Clip doesn't actually um, play around in such narrow data sets. It's very adaptable, so you don't have to actually keep enriching it to that extent. It is trained on a wide variety of images, so it can kind of figure out. So if you feed it a bunch of pictures of berries and then you show it some other type of berry it hasn't seen before, it actually can fall back on its intelligence of information that is already captured and been fed with, and can make the connection that the picture that's been shown, even if it's not actually been uniquely fed before, must belong to that same category. So it's actually a very, very smart um, uh, concept or a project that OpenAI has come up with. It's such different classifications of optimization of benchmarks. Also, it goes off of a very interesting concept called multimodal neurons. These are found in artificial networks. These are clusters, right? And we, as human beings, we possess these multimodal neurons ourselves, and they are clusters, so they can discern abstract concepts, right? Happy, sad, because there are multiple ways. It's a spectrum. There are no distinct data sets there. It just spreads across, right? Um, and multimodal neurons in artificial neural networks was discovered also to exist in clips. So, as it learns, it becomes more and more intelligent. And as it becomes more and more intelligent, it tends to also discern abstract concepts really well, whether, however you may present it, whether you're presenting it literally or symbolically or even conceptually. There's another very interesting project that OpenAI works with, which is called Whisper, and it's an automated speech recognition system, or ASR, that was trained on 680,000 hours of multilingual and multitask supervised data collected from the web. And where it finds its use. There are actual human beings intervening, looking at different posts from different social media who are there to regulate the quality. If there is abusive content, they have to take it down. So they are constantly policing. It's a very labor intensive and mentally taxing process that unfortunately right now is being conducted by human intelligence. But Whisper, if you just feed it certain words, because it has this intelligence, it can actually discern whether the content of the speech is hateful or whether it's not. And then it can help you at least do the first level of filtering, which helps people monitoring and regulating this information. It makes it much easier for them. OpenAI APIs, right? That's what ChatGPT is based on. These are available from OpenAI. You can actually adapt them to your platform, your requirements, and they can be basically leveraged in any task that involves anything to do with a natural language or code. Let's take a closer look at OpenAI API. What are the key concepts that make up the OpenAI API? Something called prompts and completions. Completion endpoints provide a very simple interface to these models, which are very powerful. You can input certain, text as a prompt, more like a question, and the model will generate a text completion that attempts to match whatever the context or the pattern you give. For example, if you say, give me a tagline for an ice cream shop, it will give you the completion saying, we serve up smiles with every scoop. It understands that ice cream is associated with happiness and there is smiling involved in it. Ice cream is served in scoops. That's how it's dispensed. And if you were to create a shop that needs to attract customers, this is something that will make the shop's offerings more enticing. So these are the levels of intelligence that a chat prompt responds with. There's a lot of intelligence built in. This really is very different from other natural language processing services, which are designed for a single task. Like you ask it something and it responds to you. You say, okay, what's the current temperature right now outside? And it will tell you, okay, it's 56 degrees, or if it's, whatever. If it's, is it warm, is it cold? It'll probably let you know that. But the sentiment classification, right? The fact that it understands ice cream is associated with happiness and happiness can lead to smiling. This is really a far more advanced discernment of any prompt that is now provided to any such artificial intelligence model. Uh, so the completion endpoints, they can be used virtually for any task and can include a content or code generation, summarization. So you can give it a, reverse. You can actually give it a big paragraph and you can say, can you distill the essence of what it's trying to say, right? It can also help expand on a thought. It can actually converse with you, to creative writing. Clearly, this is really quality advertising brand copy. So it can do creative writing, it can do style transfer, and a whole lot more. There is actually a link to the prompts and completions bit on the beta site for OpenAI, and I will make that available. The other concept that's there for OpenAI APIs, another building block, are tokens. Models will understand and process text by breaking down the text into different tokens. And tokens, they can be just words or just chunks of characters. Typically, I've noticed that they are kind of going off of syllables. So uh, in GPT 3.5, we are actually in GPT 4 right now, but in GPT 3.5, when I did create and when I did tinker and play around with the application, there was a limitation that the text prompt and generated completion will combined be no more than the model's maximum context length, which is about 2048 tokens or about 1500 words. What exactly do you think of tokens to be? Well, the word hamburger will get broken down into hamburger. So one word like hamburger will be considered to be comprised of 3 tokens, right? The number of tokens that are processed in the API depends on the length of the input and also the output. Then the next thing is models. API is powered by a set of models, and it has different capabilities and price points. The GPT-3 models are called DaVinci, Curie, Babbage, and Ada. The 3 types of models that you have can be, that can understand and generate language, natural language. That's the 3rd generation of a GPT. There's also Codex Limited in beta state, a set of models that can understand and generate code, including translating natural language to code. It's a descendant of GPT-3. And content filter, again, this is something that probably Whisper could be getting its use in. It's a fine-tuned model that can really detect, from a sentiment or from the context or from the gist of the content, whether the content is sensitive or whether it's unsafe, and then it can help filter accordingly, right? There's a big, bang picture out here right now for you. I just want to make sure that you understand all this word talk about GPT. Well, what does this term GPT stand for? It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it's a neural network machine learning model trained using internet data to generate any type of text. Now, a limitation that you must remember is the GPT model was fed with history of the internet data, whatever the internet contained, up until September 2021. So if you ask it to provide you anything on the current affairs or on any incident or any events that transpired after that date of September 2021, you might find a little bit of issue there. So that's it. So it's generative pre-trained transformer. And you'll be hearing generative AI. Everyone's talking about AGI everywhere. So generative is a term to look out for. Okay. What are the OpenAI APIs that are in use right now? So there are companies that have already made use of OpenAI API. You have GitHub Copilot. It's a pair programmer that helps you write code faster with less work. Uses Codex, GitHub Copilot. It applies a context in your editor and synthesizes whole lines and even entire functions of code. Then you have Duolingo. You must have heard of Duolingo. It's more like one of those language translator slash teaching modules. It does use GPT-3 and it provides French grammar corrections. So internal Duolingo study shows that use of this feature leads to measurably better second language writing skills. These are all from OpenAI's website. It has advertised. There's also something called Viable. It helps businesses better understand what customers are telling them by using these language models using GPT-3. And it helps to analyze customer feedback and generate their summary and insights. If you're vetted to a company over 200, 300 lines, it helps distill the gist of what you're trying to convey to the company, and it'll probably provide the most effective and the most precise version of that venting to the company to make it more actionable so that they can actually try and address whatever your grievances are. Keeper tax is another project that uses OpenAI API. It helps freelancers automatically find tax deductible expenses by using GPT-3 to interpret data from their bank statements into usable transaction information. I think this is pretty important. I think everybody is looking to make some sort of tax savings. So this is definitely a good product to look out for. So conversational AI, right? Generative conversational. GPT, as I was mentioning, it's short for generative pre-trained transformer. This is an AI model that uses deep learning to generate human-like text created by OpenAI. Generative AI refers to ability to generate text, right? So we're trying to kind of break down this term, GPT. Generative is its ability to generate text. Pre-trained means it's using models from one machine learning task, which is already, let's say it's conducted, and it's training another. It's almost like how we will draw from our past experiences to form a course of action for a future challenge, right? So it learns new things by falling back on or banking on what it has already helped address previously. In this case, a GPT involves the pre-training on a very large corpus of text. Transformer. It is a kind of neural network that holistically learns about the relationship between all parts of a data sequence, in this case, the words in a sequence. If you're trying to create when using the parts of speech, you're trying to create a coherent sentence, it understands. It learns from that structure. That's probably why it's so good at translating into different languages, because it understands sentence construction rules for different languages and applies them properly. It's seen as a breakthrough apparently for AI because it understands context and nuance better than previous approaches. And we just saw that it could create that tagline for an ice cream shop, right? I mean, I don't think even I could have come up with something that good. There is a link here. I'll make that available as well. Now, GPT-4. This is something that came out, after GPT 3.5 made its way in November last year. GPT-4 was introduced on March 15th this year. And interestingly, the limitation that we saw with GPT 3.5 being able to only deal with about 1,500 words, 2048 tokens, in the prompt as well as the output combined, that limitation has been taken away with GPT 3.5. And this is due to the increased context length. GPT-4 actually has two variants. There's the base version, which has 8,192 tokens. Remember, for GPT 3.5, we were discussing about 2048 or 2,000 odd tokens. Now it's gone up 4 times with just the base version. And there's also a larger version that supports 32,768 tokens, right? So this means that GPT-4 can process 7 times more content. So if it was doing about 7 pages earlier, it is able to now produce 50 pages of content. And then there's going to be a GPT 4.5, 5, and so on and so forth. So this is just the beginning. The sky's the limit in terms of how much progress and evolution a generative pre-trained transformer model can undergo. I have put some useful links, which I will add to the bottom of the video, and you can grab them and you can play around with the solution. It has a nice interface. You also have something for DALL-E that you can actually go and play around with. I find this a lot of fun. You can actually create different pictures from different prompts. It tells you how you should be able to do so. So and it tells you that this is a prompt that you provided, which is the armchair in the shape of an avocado. DALL-E will produce such images. It will create images with the word OpenAI as like a storefront. So you understand the concept. If it's a storefront, it has to be a banner or a sign, and that's the size it has to create. It can actually create these kinds of sketches, and you can also mention if you want a certain kind of an environment to create these in. So let me see if I can find a way to provide a text prompt, edit a prompt, and this is cute. Illustration of a baby daikon radish in a tutu walking a dog. I told you, the sky's the limit in terms of the imagination of the prompts that you can come up with. I mean, can you imagine a dog will walk by a radish? But here it is, and you can see something like this. So you can keep changing the prompt tokens, right? Instead of saying a baby daikon radish, you could say, I want to see a baby hedgehog. And then the baby hedgehog is actually walking the dog. And each of these underlined sections are what they're allowing in this test drive to change. So you can say walking a dog. I want to do igniting a firework, and the hedgehog in the tutu igniting a firework. So what it does is it takes this part of the sentence and collects it and makes a meaningful output out of it. And then it allows you to swap out, right? In a tutu, instead of in a tutu, you can say in a cape, and it'll have a cape in it with the firework. Instead of firework, it can be riding a car, right? So sky's the limit when it comes to creating prompts for DALL-E, and you can just type it in and it will create an image. So I don't know how well the stock photo companies are going to thrive after this, but we'll have to see, because if every conceivable type of image can be built from prompts like these, and it's not just black and white kind of cartoonish pictures, you can actually create hyper realistic pictures as well. I mean, these are pretty realistic. You could actually think that somebody had actually gone and taken a photo of a snail with a tiny little miniature harp that it's trying to play, right? So the quality, the backgrounds, the texture, the type, everything is customizable with a product like DALL-E 2. And that's just one of its projects, right? Yeah, I could actually go ahead and log on and provide you guys a quick tour of how ChatGPT works when you put a prompt and it gives you an answer. And probably we can look at that in the next video. Well, there you have it. At least you know what it's all about, and you will be able to work with ChatGPT and know what it's made up of. I hope you really enjoyed this presentation, and more importantly, you took something valuable away from it. Until next time, bye.